Hey there, Nick Chatakis here. In this video, we're going to do something quite a bit different. So on this channel, there's hundreds of videos on software development and deployment topics. And never once have I made a video in anger. But I just finished editing a video on native Linux using Shotcut. And it's time to make a video in anger. Hopefully it's the last one. But, just so it's not a clickbait title, I don't even know one in the title of this video yet. I'm not going to be taking shots at open source tools or the maintainers working on those tools. I contribute to a lot of open source projects myself. I am a developer. Some of these things have thousands of stars in GitHub. Like, I put these things out to the world. If other folks want to use them, get value out of them, contribute back to them, that's a really nice gift. And I just do them because it's what I enjoy. So yeah, I'm not going to be shitting all over these other tools here. I hope that the authors of these tools or anybody watching can take some constructive criticism pretty well. I know I do as well. So in this video, it's going to be focused on that. I am going to be just doing some editing features that I do in Camtasia on Windows, basically a video editing tool. Then we're going to open up Shotcut and Kdenlive. These are two different video editing tools that also happen to work on Linux. Camtasia does not. And we're just going to see like some comparisons of common things I do while editing videos. Now, if you are familiar with using Linux, you might just be like, well, just use DaVinci Resolve. It's a solved problem. It's the best video editing tool you can ever use. And there are some issues with running DaVinci Resolve on Linux, and I'll get to that in a bit there. I've also edited over 100 podcasts using DaVinci Resolve on Windows. The editing experience is actually quite nice, and I can absolutely get used to using it. But again, there's some issues there. But with that said, yeah, let's just quickly go over some, editing workflows that I do here with some of these tools so we can get a comparison. So I'm just gonna, take an MP4, something that I just recorded from OBS earlier today here. Again, using Camtasia. I should also mention that I'm using a version of Camtasia from 2018. In fact, I actually bought this version 9 license, I think in 2016. So we're talking 9 years old. Now it's a paid program. I forgot exactly what I paid for it. Maybe it was like $100 during like a Black Friday deal back then. I don't know what it was, but like I haven't upgraded simply because even despite it being an almost 10-year-old version, it does things so intuitively well that like I just have not felt compelled to upgrade. I don't even know what the latest version has in terms of like new features. I just know that if it has better and cooler things, that's great. I just haven't upgraded it to it. So yeah, I just dragged this video into my timeline, as you can see, right? So, let's bring it down here so we can start playing around. Right away, very quickly, just load it up here. Again, it's only a 3-minute video, so, it's going to load fast. But, I've edited videos that were like 3 hours long, and it incrementally, adds like the audio waveforms, and, the video timeline's completely usable while it's doing all that, which is actually an important side effect here. Or an important takeaway, I should say. But let's say that I want to split the audio and video. Cool. Right click, split, done. Now, with my audio gear, the way I have things set up, usually the audio comes in a little bit light. So I like to raise the gain on the audio just a little bit, maybe to like, kind of a decent amount, to like 140%. So I can just type in 140 if I want. Sure, hit enter, and then we'll see. But before I hit enter, look at the waveform down there. I'm going to hit enter right now. So maybe you didn't catch it, but like it grew. It got bigger and smaller. So if I just drag this little thing around, you can actually see the wave form there getting smaller, getting bigger. So it's a really nice visual indicator to me to know that like, hey, by the way, this audio track has been modified in some way, especially if you have a couple of cuts here or different clips, and if you're going to modify one of them, you can actually tell right away that one of them has higher volume than the other. You can even drag this little bar here as well, and then see the difference. Cool. Okay. You won't see you won't hear any of the audio, but yeah, it's nice to have this because we're going to be cutting some stuff so we can actually see. Going around cuts, that's probably the most basic thing I do. Again, you can see a real-time preview of the video here at its natural size here, 100%. Cool. So, let's just say that we're at the start of the video. I can already tell there's dead air here because there's no audio. One nice thing about Camtasia is like its playhead here actually has like little things that you can drag off to the side. So I'll just drag to the left there, and now I have a range selected. All I have to do here now is hit Control X, and that's going to do a ripple delete. Basically, it's going to cut and delete and move everything over. So for example, if the playhead were over here and I were to hit the S key here to do a split, this basically makes a cut. It split this video, well, actually in this case, the audio in half here, because you can select both if you want, if they were not combined already. But in any case here, I have two splits, right? Like, let's say if I were to split this one again, normally now if you hit the delete key, that is just going to delete that, but it's not going to like move this over to the left as well. So a ripple delete is when it moves it over to the left. But another video, I'm just undoing this by the way with Control Z, but yeah, in other video tools that I've tried, it's like, there's no concept of like choosing a range and then just like deleting things in one hotkey. You have to like make your cut here, then make your cut here, and then delete the thing. But this is actually like a really big deal. For example, let's just say that I wanted to cut everything before this, right? I can just like slam it over to the left, Control X, boom, move on with life. Maybe over here, it's like, you know what? I kind of don't want that. Select this, but then here's where the magic really happens. maybe I'm just like playing with this a little bit. And you can see the real-time preview happening here as well. Maybe it's like, as I'm doing this, I'm like tweaking things, and it's like, oh, that's like the perfect spot where I want the cut. Cool, okay, Control X, boom, cut it, and we're done. The problem is when you try to do this with like a split focus setup where you're not really having a range, like for example, if I just split that here, and then I split that here, now it's like, well, this is already, well, actually I didn't hit the hotkey here, but if I split it again here, now it's like, well, what if I actually want this thing just to be split like over here instead? So now it's like, well, I need to like undo that, move the playhead where I want it, and then like split it again, and then like hope that's a spot. So like right away, having the range thing is super helpful. So I'm going to undo a whole bunch of those changes just so, we'll have a little bit more of the video to play around with. But yeah, you can also, split this way, or you can either do a range this way or the other way. And I should say too, like this is snapping. Like when I hit into the middle point, it's snapping, which is quite nice. Also, when you're dragging this thing, you can see the little tooltip, right? You can see the duration of how long this actually is. So if you knew like specifically, you have like a 1 second clip that you just want to clip out, it's like, that's basically 1 second there. There was like a tiny, like whatever, like 10 microseconds or whatever that was afterwards. But yeah, super handy, super fast. And cutting like that is like something I do all the time because like here is clearly like some dead air there. Maybe I stop to like cough or something, or there's an or an ah. Just select, ripple, delete, move on with life. 1 second and we're done. And yeah, okay, let's go with another workflow that I do pretty frequently. And this is adding like text callouts. If you've watched my videos, then maybe you've seen this style. So under Camtasia, they're called annotations. And there's a whole bunch of different basic ones, all sorts of different stuff that you can choose from. But I typically just grab this one, move it wherever I want. And again, right away, lots of interesting things happened. As soon as I drag that onto the preview, then it appeared on my timeline as a separate track, a separate layer. If you're doing image editing, I can now move this independently where I want. And, let's just make it a little bit shorter. But like, start to play, there it is, pops up, and then there it is, goes away. And then if I want to make it longer, super easy. I just drag that to make it as wide as I want. If I want to move it to here in the video, I can. If I want to like duplicate that, make a new layer or a new track, then I can do that as well. Layer them on top of each other, move them over, do whatever you want. But the real takeaway here is how nice it is to actually edit text here and have like some reasonable looking call out. So, if I just start typing like hello world, this is pretty cool. A lot of really, really interesting things are happening. And I really never noticed this until I started using Shotcut and Kdenlive and some other tools. Like as I'm typing here, notice the size of the box is not changing, but the font size will get smaller automatically to fit in the box. Like hello world, this is me typing, it got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as I type more. That's just really nice. And also it works sort of in the opposite direction. You can see the text getting bigger a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And then, yeah, well, in that case, it just didn't wrap, but it didn't get bigger. But that's just really nice. Okay, so let me put, this is a long sentence, whatever. And here's another really interesting thing too. Like it's just, everything is resizing. I'm just dragging the mouse around, right? Like it's like following the contours of the actual box. I don't need to worry about like making the box bigger on itself and then the text after. And here's a really cool thing too. Like there's this little like nub thing. I could just like hide that just by dragging it anywhere in the inside there. Great. You might notice these little yellow lines popping up. This is dead center vertically in the video. And there's a horizontal one too. And like you can't tell this, but it's like, it's snapping. When I hit that, it's snapping. And you can, it's just really nice, right? I can position this anywhere I want, or I can like snap it with the guidelines there. Some other really cool things here too is that, let's say that I want the text to be bigger. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can just type in like a number like 120, or you can use a slider. And I'm using the slider to demonstrate another thing. Like this box is now growing to the size of the text. Now it doesn't shrink back. It's like a one-way street where it gets bigger and bigger. But if you want to resize it to be smaller, you can just resize it like this. Like we're talking seconds here. Again, like everything is also happening exactly on the real-time preview window here. So like what you see is what you get, right? That's super, super handy here. And other nice things here too, I'm in the font drop-down box. I can just sit here, look, I can like scratch my eyeball. I'm just using the mouse wheel now to play around with the different fonts. Like I can see a preview of what these fonts look like very quickly in the real-time preview. And then, or, I can also pick whatever one that I want. Maybe I want this Noto Sans Leo one. Sure, why not? Let's actually make it bold. Cool, done. And then, maybe you just want to make hello world underline. All right, fine, let's do that. Or maybe it's like, this is a long sentence, right? Maybe you want to emphasize just these words. If you've watched my videos, like I do this quite a bit where, maybe I'll highlight some of the words a different color. I typically wouldn't stick with this pinkish color here in the background, but there's these other little tabs here where, let's go to here and then choose a different color. Let's go with blue. And this is like a popular combo I do. And again, you can save your own callouts and your different styles if you want to pre-style them, drag them on, and then it's super easy to use. So there's that, super easy. And again, like maybe you don't want the opacity to be full. Well, you can just like change the opacity to be whatever you want. Maybe it blends in a little bit more with your background. You can tweak these colors however you want. There's the hex code. It also has a nice little color picker. Now check this out. I'm going to click the color picker, move it around the screen. Doesn't even need to be in the video. There's the green all the way up there in the icon. I mean, here I'm actually moving. You can't see this, but I'm moving the mouse cursor to my second monitor, and now it's picking out colors from my desktop and some other wallpapers and OBS that's on the other monitor. So, but the really nice thing though is look, it's all happening in real-time previews. I can see, oh, if I wanted to have that in red, that's what that looks like. Oh, in green, that's what that looks like. I'm just moving my mouse, not clicking anything. But yeah, let's just say for argument's sake, whatever, I'll choose this color. Sure, it's gray, but well, okay, let's go back to the blue. Done, so easy. And then you can also use a gradient if you want instead of a solid one. There's all sorts of different things that you can do here, just around like playing around with stuff. And yeah, what's also nice too is like you can right click that and maybe add a visual effect. Maybe you want to add a border. So, here's a tab over here. I should mention here too that a drop shadow, that's like in the call out by default here. So, but if it's like, if you want to add more of an offset here or more opacity or more blur, just to the drop shadow, you can have the angle of it change. You can do whatever you want. It's super subtle on video, but like it's changing around. You can even input the exact angle that you want or reset it to the defaults, or maybe just delete the drop shadow entirely. Or maybe you want like a 10 pixel border that's white, but instead of white, maybe you want it to be pink or whatever, like it looks kind of bad with the border because, this thing is already not shaped as a square, so it looks kind of strange. So maybe we don't want the border. Maybe we want the drop shadow to be back. Fine, let's put the drop shadow back. Done. And yeah, that's just how easy it is to have these individual like filter styles applied to a certain thing. Super intuitive, super just like easy to use, right? Drag the bar, you play with the thing. You know what this is intuitively just by looking like what it's going to do, if you've ever edited like an image in your life, which is pretty nice. So there's all things like this. There's all sorts of like fun little things you can do as well. These are more advanced things that I don't do a whole lot, but they're like so easy and so intuitive. Like actually, before we even get to them, let's go into more basic things. So yeah, okay, so you have this text call out here. Great. Maybe you want to duplicate it. Control C. I just literally hit the Control C shortcut over this track. Control V. Well, there's a track here. You can see actually it's above this one. I can drag this somewhere else. And then these are independent things. So, maybe we can take this one and just like move it down there. So then when it's playing, then, now it's going to go here and then it's back to the original one to where it was before. But it's like, it's so easy to do things like this, like so easy. Just to move stuff around. Okay, so next thing I do really, really frequently, I guess, is like sometimes I do zooming. So for example, normally, I wouldn't be recording my whole desktop like this video, but this video I just happened to be because I was showing something down here. But like this text is very hard to read maybe for certain people. So I typically would like zoom all the way to the bottom right of the screen just so you can see what the text would be a little bit clearer. Now, in Camtasia, you don't have to worry about keyframes or like splitting the video or, or splitting different clips and doing all this sorts of nonsense. You just go to animations here. Well, I'll click it so it's actually open. And this little rectangle that we see here is like, a replication of what you see here. So if I just wanted to like zoom this into the bottom right, I just grab this top left corner and just start moving. And the smaller I make that box down, where I'm moving my mouse here, the more it's zooming in. So you can also see the zoom. I don't want to let go of my mouse, but below the mouse, the zoom level is like 264%. Like, you can see it getting smaller and now it's getting bigger. And you don't need to zoom to the bottom right. Like if I just take this thing and drag it, like maybe we want to zoom directly into here. That would be crazy, but you can. And check it out. Those little snap bars that you saw in the middle before, they're snapping over here too. So I know the exact edge of when this thing ends here. So now I'm in the very perfect spot in the very, very bottom right. Now the text is garbly looking, right? Because it's just zoomed in text there. Actually, I'm going to delete this because I don't want to have that zoom effect. I just hit delete. I actually want to have the zoom on the video layer, not that text layer. So let's go back to over here. Cool. All right, let's just like zoom back into down here to the bottom right. Whatever, 320% zoom sounds good to me. But let me actually get rid of this thing too, because we'll explain what this actually is in a sec. So there's this little like triangle thing that appeared on this video track. Well, I can make this longer if I'd like. Like let's say it's 5 seconds long here. So check what's going to happen now. So we're at the normal video. I hit play. And there's a 5-second zoom all the way like nicely transitioning to the bottom right. And if I want to make this zoom transition shorter, I just make this thing shorter. Look, and now it's going to be a faster transition because less time. Boom, there we go. You can make it even faster, you can make it even longer, it's up to you. So here's a really interesting thing. So let's say that you're not quite sure how long you want to zoom. You're cutting your video, playing it back, pause, play back, pause, whatever. And you decide like, like here is the point where I want to actually zoom back out. Well, now you just hit scale to fit and boom, it's done. It's done. That's all you have to do. And now this whole like period in between there, you're zoomed out. And now very quickly, this is going to like quickly transition back to zoomed out. I should have said zoomed in for the middle there. But here's like the magic cool part. If I just wanted to be zoomed in for a longer period of time, I just left click and drag this thing wherever the hell I want. And that's it. If I want to make it longer at the end, done. So now all of this would be zoomed in, zoomed in, zoomed in, and then it's going to like zoom out eventually at this point. And it's so easy. It's so easy to work with. And like here you can see I just clicked into it again. If I just wanted to like tweak that to be like, yeah, you know what, maybe I just want to zoom in that much instead, or zoom out that much, you could totally do that. And now if it's like, well, you know what, I don't even want these zooms anymore, screw them, delete it, and we're done, and we're back in business with no more zooming. Like, actually, I don't want to save it. But yeah, I always hit Control S out of habit. But in any case, zooming is so easy. There's other animations here to do as well. And here is what's really cool about this as well. So notice as I'm just mouse overing each one, it's showing me exactly what this actually is. Like what type of animation is it? Scale to fit, it's scaling up, it's like tilting left and restoring and some other stuff. But like that's more apparent with these behaviors, which are also pretty interesting. So like just going back to this text layer over here, you know, let's screw around with this and just play with it a little bit. So you can do this thing called drifting, or you can fade, or like you can do jump and fall. So let's just do a jump and fall. Why not, right? I'm going to literally left click, drag that, throw it right onto the label. And now, you know, just like how we saw we had drop shadows here, text color, you know, annotation call out styles and stuff. Well, now you have a behavior, and you can have multiple behaviors attached to this just by dragging more things, and they become, you know, more on the stack here. But here now it's like, check it out. I'm going to hit play. Out of the box, you get this really cool little like boom. And then, well, this clip is so long that well, it's going to take a little bit longer by default. But yeah, now it's going to pop down at some point. You know, I would never keep this at this point in the video, but you know what I mean, right? That's like super long. But, you know, you can just make this thing shorter, and then suddenly everything just like adapts to the clip length, right? So it's like I didn't have to touch a keyframe. I didn't have to drag this. I didn't have to like switch to a different view. I didn't have to like read a manual on anything. It's like literally just like drag the thing, play around with some stuff. There's like, you know, during in and out, different parts of that transition there. Like you can then tweak these things just by playing with them. You can see it's almost like printing variables when you're programming. It's like you're just seeing the output almost so quick. Like, of course you know how it's going to work, because like you're just getting real-time feedback on this stuff very quickly. And it's like, again, like if you want to just like, maybe you want the pulsating one also, let's do pulsating at the same time. Like we just overlaid them on top of each other. So now it's going to pulsate and do this crazy thing. And then it's going to do this, this, and that. And boom, it's going to go down. Now, do I put these effects in all my videos? No, but like, I remember I made a dive into Docker video course, and the animation there, it's like, you know, there's like scuba diver comes down onto like a Docker thing. There's like sound playing, and then like all that was just done in Camtasia, and I was just screwing around for like 45 minutes, and I didn't have to do anything like beyond just like dragging stuff around until it looked cool. And like that's such a powerful thing when you're not focused on video editing. Like you just want a result. You don't want to like build the thing. You know, it's like developing where it's like, yeah, well, I mean, building libraries are fun, but like, I just want to get work done. Like Camtasia just lets me get the work done. Like if I just want to make the call out like this in 10 seconds, I'm done. I'm not screwing around with like 100 text layers and Z indexes and other stuff. So basically though, yeah, cutting things very quickly with that range tool. You know, you can zoom in and out of this thing as well. Super popular or common thing to do here. Annotations there, different behaviors, different animations, zooming, blah, blah, blah. There's other cool little annotation types that you can do as well. I do these from time to time. For example, they have the spotlight one where you can just put this and becomes again layer on the track here, its own separate one. And now, you know, things are kind of like spotlighted into that specific zone that you did. So it's like normal, 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 spotlight. And then here you can also do whatever you want. You can add transitions to that. You can make it bigger, smaller. A lot of fun little things you can do there. There's another one like for highlighting too. Like if you just wanted to highlight some certain text, again, you know, opacity here is what you want to do. You can actually invert it if you want. Like if you wanted everything highlighted except that rectangle, like all these little things are just tweakable, playable, screwing around with. If you don't like it, you can right click, delete it. You can hit delete. You can do whatever you want. And that's like actually quite nice. So another annotation that's pretty handy from time to time is something like the arrow. And I only bring the arrow up here instead of the other one because, you know, again, you can like move these things around, they snap around, you can resize them, you can do whatever, but you can also take this little nub in the middle here and kind of rotate that as much as you want. And then there's also like different things that you can do here with these windows on the right where, yeah, in the callout itself, you can get the exact angle that you want, different positions. If you want to drop shadow, if you don't want to drop shadow, like the text also always stays like left to right. So even if the arrow is pointing the other way, like the text will flip to be, you know, something you can actually read. Like these are things that were in the editor like 9 years ago. I can't even imagine how much smoother or better or other cool things they have here. You know, you can draw some like interesting like little shapes here if you want. Yeah. So it is a really, really helpful and quite nice tool to use. So yeah, I should mention here too, we weren't on there, but yeah, you can animate these things as well. Let's go over maybe a couple other things. Another useful one that I do pretty frequently is, let's say I delete this track, that track, this track, like the things on the track. Now I'm left with like 2 used tracks and a couple unused tracks. Well, with a lot of video editors that I found on Linux, it's like you have to like delete them one at a time or whatever. Here, it's so easy. Just like remove the empty ones and we're done. Like anything that has stuff on it won't get deleted. So if you had like a title in there, it won't get deleted. But if it's empty, it gets deleted. Same thing with the media. Right now, there's only 1 clip. But if I have like 5 clips there and one of them isn't on the timeline here, then if I go here, it's not showing it because there's nothing there. You can delete all the unused clips as well. And again, it doesn't delete them on disk, just like from the project here. But yeah, another useful thing that you might want to do is like, just transitions. So we went over like this range cut thing here for ripple deleting, but it's like, well, maybe you just want to have right here, you want to split that. And also maybe right here, you want to split this as well. So now we have like 3 distinct clips here. It's 1 clip, but split into 3 things. But maybe you want this thing to have some type of transition. Like maybe you want to do the cube rotate because you're in 1989. So, but again, before we even get to there, notice I'm just like mouse overing these. I can see what it actually is before I even apply it to anything in 1 second. In 1 second. That's how nice it is. But I'm going to take this, drag it over here. Boom. Now I've got a transition. If I want to make it longer, I just drag one side and it mirrors it on the other side. So now if we go here and actually play this, you can see it's going to play. Now it's going to do the cube effect. But that's exactly how that works. And if it's like you don't want this effect, that's cool. Like delete it and you're done. So yeah, you can do all sorts of different things here when it comes to transitions. A common one might be fading. Maybe you want the fade to happen at the start of the video. So you do this and now it's going to like fade into the video like that. Or maybe you want to fade out, so you put it at the end. They're all here for you to screw around with. You can also make your own transitions and save them and use them as much as you want. There's all sorts of other little things here too, like cursor effects, like having the cursor basically have like effects around it as it's moving. But I believe that actually requires you to record your videos with Camtasia. I record them with OBS, so I don't really use that a whole lot. There's some reasonable audio effects here too. For example, maybe you want to fade in on this one here. Notice here, there's this little thing that you can drag here. You can't hear the audio because I have the desktop audio muted, but like, you can imagine a song is going to be coming on and it's like softer, getting a little bit louder to the max volume. And then you can also do a fade out if you want here at the end of the clip. And then again, you can drag this however you want. And yeah, that is how easy it is to do very basic things. And there's other like visual effects that you can do. For example, like I wouldn't call this necessarily color grading. I don't really mess with that a whole lot because usually I'm just, a small webcam with my screencast, but it's like, yeah, you can add like a color adjustment on top of that. And now, it's going to be whatever the heck this looks like. And you can start tweaking out with that. If you want more contrast, less, maybe you want more brightness, or maybe you want more saturation. But yeah, everything just becomes a thing, like it's a stack. You can add more to them. You can make this, 500 times speed or 500% speed or whatever you want to do, you can do here with some very basic visual effects here. And that's really all I use, honestly, in my day-to-day. But it is so quick for me to edit videos where it's like, I don't have to think about the process. Like it just gets done. Now you could say like, well, Nick, you've been using Camtasia for almost a decade. Sure, it's going to be that quick. But it's like, yeah, but like you don't need to use a tool for 100 years to be like, I just drag that and hit Control X and now I just cut it with a ripple delete. Or, I'm not going to keep repeating everything, but it's like, do the things here. There's also like some interesting arrows here that you can put, like maybe you want an arrow that points like that to like some other thing. Totally do that. You want to animate that? Totally can do that. But yeah, okay. So that's enough about Camtasia for now. So this is the Windows experience editing a video for screencasts on an editor that was made about 8 years ago, let's say. But ignore that. That's like taking shots, right? But it is an 8-year-old piece of software. And you know what? It doesn't crash. I've exported over like 1,000 videos, literally, because I have hundreds of course videos that I made as well. It just doesn't crash. It doesn't crash when editing. I am on a machine, by the way, I should say, that I built from parts in 2014. It's an i5 4460, 16 gigs of memory, a GeForce 750 Ti, and, some like, ASRock or ASRock, whatever, H97M, like I forget the exact motherboard. But anyways, it's not a machine that was like some jacked up, like, 64, like gigs of memory and then, blazing fast, like Threadripper CPU, blah, blah, blah. It is a very low end machine and it is able to render 30 frames per second, 1080p video with a real-time preview here with no proxy clips, nothing. I literally just record the video in OBS as an MKV and then I just remux that to an MP4, which takes 1 second because it's not re-encoding anything. I drop the MP4 in here, delete the MKV, and then I just render a 1080p, H264 encoded MP4 here, and the That's it. Upload it straight to YouTube. Done. The importing process, the editing process, and the exporting process is super efficient. If I'm editing like 40 videos in a row for a course, it also has like a bulk export for, you can actually export multiple videos in a row, like sequentially. So that's really nice. Like my machine isn't super powerful. I don't want to sit here like a goofball and wait for the videos to render. So I just like start rendering it before I go to bed. And, within like maybe 3 hours, they're all done. By the time I'm waking up, all the videos are there. It's basically like Christmas morning. But yeah, everything just works. And that's really the key here. It just works. So let's talk a little bit maybe about video editing on the Linux experience. Now, to be completely fair here, I am not a professional Shotcut tool user. I literally just edited 2 videos with it, including this one here. You can actually see I've already pre-cut and did some things. But we're going to like mess around with this and do some of the things that we tried to do in Camtasia here. But it's like, and again, I'm trying not to take shots, but it's just like, this just doesn't look nice to me. Like the Camtasia UI just looks more inviting, I guess. And I already played around a lot with like getting the windows to be positioned where I want. But like, even, I don't know, like even when the program opens, I know I do have a text layer here, but it's like I wish it just showed me like the bottom layers first, I guess, because usually that's going to be like videos. Like I want to see this by default, not like an empty thing that I need to like scroll down. But now it's like, oh, but I hit the mouse wheel, but it's like actually scrolling me to the right. It's not scrolling this thing down. And maybe that is like probably what you want in the, context of editing here, because you're going to be editing horizontally, but it's like, I don't know, maybe do I hold shift to do this? No, that just makes the layer bigger or smaller. What about control? I can't tell now. No, that's just zooming things in and out here. But it's like, or actually I was hitting shift, sorry. No, shift. No, shift just makes those bigger and smaller. No, shift is doing, I don't know. Yeah, it's just making these literally taller. But anyways, okay, whatever. I don't want to get too super sidetracked on nonsense here, but I guess I'll just drag it for now. But yeah, there's the waveform. At least we can see the waveform. It looks fine. It's enough to me to know like, oh, I probably like took a breath there or something else. And what's interesting though is like right away, it's like I'm zooming in and out here and you can't see the zoom occur until I let go of the mouse. And then I see it here. And here's a crazy thing. Like, I don't even know what zoom level I'm at. Like, am I at 110% or like more? I don't know. And that's actually really important because when you're doing video editing, like, by the way, I should mention I have a 4K monitor. I actually scaled everything to 150% so the font isn't so small for this recording. But it's like, normally, like the more horizontal space you have, the better. You want to be able to see like, minutes of your timeline so you can jump around. But it also needs to be zoomed in enough to where it's like, you can see like, exactly like frames where you want to make your cut. So like oftentimes I'm zooming in more to make a more specific cut. Like here, it's like, I wouldn't necessarily cut this per se, but it's like, well, I don't want to click there. Actually, I was trying to click here, but it's like, yeah, like, the more you're zoomed in, the easier it is to cut like where you want. That's where I'm going with that one. But knowing like, oh, I always zoom into like 140%. I would like to know that, but I actually can't see that. So in any case here, sure, here's a timeline. Let's go back to the beginning of the video. Let's just do something very basic. Like I just want to maybe like take all of this and just like remove that to the left. Now, again, you could just drag this over, I guess, and maybe just like drag it to the thing. No, you can't. So a lot of this stuff you're going to see me fail, but this little thing turned green. I thought I can actually drag it, but like apparently not, I guess, which is weird because you would think like you can drag the left edge of the video like to the right. Like Camtasia does that, no problem. I didn't demonstrate it, but it's like, yeah, you can grab the end of the video. Maybe, I guess I can maybe demonstrate it here. There's a red, the end. But here it's like, I'm just clicking and holding. This is already like ridiculously unintuitive. Now it's like, well, where the hell's my mouse cursor? Like, what if I want to go back to the right? It's like my mouse is now on the other monitor and like this other horizontal scroll bar is moving, but like nothing is being updated here. I would expect the whole timeline to shift so I can actually see like what's happening. Here, I let go of my mouse. I don't even know what the hell happened. Did I cut something off the end of the video? Did nothing happen? Well, I just hit Control Z there, and apparently all of that got dragged out of there, but it was like none of that was even visible. So, all right, that's cool. But here, okay, so I'm at this point in the video. Sweet. Let me say that like roughly from here to here, I want to actually like ripple delete that. So, you can hit S here to make a split, basically. You can also do it here. Split again, and here you can just do your Control X, and that did do a ripple delete. So I'll hit the delete key here. That's a not ripple delete, right? So there's like the gap there. I don't want the gap, so like done. But I'm just undoing now. But the big thing about Camtasia was that range finder. So it's like I can just grab something here and just like move it to there. But now it's like, well, I don't have that. So now it's like, well, I need to split that here and split that, let's say, I don't know, for argument's sake, like over here. But like, what if I really, really wanted it split over here after playing it back a little bit? So now it's like, well, I have to like undo this, bring the playhead all over here, and then see, is that really the point? Well, I guess that's the point. Okay, let me move it here. And I don't know, that's just like, to me, not very cool. And it's also strange too, like there's so many subtle little things. And again, like it feels like I'm just taking a shit on Shotcut, but really it's not. Like I want to be happy using this tool because I want to switch to native Linux, right? But it's like, look, I move the mouse over here and I see the left and right mouse cursor. But like I move the mouse here and there is no left and right mouse cursor, but I can still drag the thing. But it scares me because like I used a tool probably for like an hour and a half, and like, but it's like a 10+ year old tool. Like I just don't know. I don't know. It reminds me of GIMP a little bit in the sense that like it took 20 years to get non-destructive text editing for layers, or like being able to like add a stroke to a text without needing to duplicate the layer and move it around. Like it just feels like there's so many amazing things about Linux, but at the same time, some stuff is just like how could it be in the current state it is? And again, trying to be ultra constructive here. I understand obviously making an entire video editing tool is not going to be an easy thing that just appears overnight. And again, like I would contribute patches to this thing all day if I actually knew like systems level programming, you know, to actually be able to contribute to these projects. But I am just an idiot who knows Python and Ruby and shell scripts and web app development and writing command line tools and yeah, low level system programming with C or C++ or whatever, you know, these tools are written in, not my wheelhouse. But in any case here, okay, so we already know right away the cutting experience is maybe not as good, but look, realistically, this is not bad. I just split that, ripple, delete it, move on with life. I can completely deal with that. Maybe let me know in the comments below. I'm missing something obvious here. Maybe there's an even more efficient way to do that. I would love to learn that. So let me know in the comments if there actually is a better way to do something like that. But yeah, okay. So let's say you want to do something just like adding like an annotation like we saw before with the text. Well, there's like 11 different ways to do that one, but the one that I found that gives the most flexibility at least, and again, the one I found doesn't mean like I went to the end of the earth. Like this is just from Googling around for half an hour trying to find a way, how the hell do I add a text annotation to my thing? Here you go open other, and then you go to text, and then you can go add to timeline. And now we have a new little layer on our track, or basically, sorry, we have another track. It didn't put it on a new track. Well, maybe it did put it on a new track actually. Yeah, it did because the other one's on the previous track from before. So, okay, so now we've got some text on here, but it's like, now it's like edit your text using the filters panel over here. So like I click on this thing, but look, I can't edit this. I'm clicking. There's no thing. But no, I'm not an idiot. Well, yes, I am, but it says like using the filters panel. So I had to discover that, oh, like the filters panel. Okay, so you have to go in here and then like edit your text to be like, oh, okay, edit your text using this thing. And then you can start to see it get updated. Now, I very quickly learned that like once I started using this thing, I'm like, there's no way it could be that hard to add text. Then I used Kdenlive and then I realized like, oh, this thing is a miracle of life to be able to edit text this easily. But no, you don't want text simple actually, so let's delete this one. What we really want is the rich text one, most likely, at least for my use case here. So here you can double click in there and be like, you know, let's go with like, hello world. This is cool. There's my text here. You know, what's really interesting though is like I'm clicking here, but like the mouse cursor or the cursor is still allowing me to input text. I just want to click and drag this thing. It took me longer than I would like to admit to know that there's those little like, by the way, I was editing a video that had a darker background. This thing was nearly invisible. Like that's the only way to move this thing around besides like actually importing the coordinates. Like I'm trying to launch something into outer space. But here's the thing. Hello world, this is cool. You know, I'm going to be typing. You can see at least the text wraps to, you know, the actual coordinates of the rectangle here. I think that might be because the overflow is automatic. I don't know actually. So let's just see what happens with hidden. You know, I don't know. No, I don't know why, whatever. Maybe that's something a little bit different. But yeah, so if you want to like resize the box, you need to like manually resize it to here. Maybe we'll resize it to that. That's cool. And now it's like, well, yeah, you want to move this thing around. But look, there's no guides. So how the hell do I know if I'm centered or not? I don't know. I mean, I can do some math. I can be like, well, you know what? My screen resolution is 1920 and this background thing is like 1342. So I guess I don't even know the math off the top of my head to do this. Like you subtract the two numbers and then divide by 2 or something. And then suddenly like that's where you want to put the position. I don't know, but like think about that workflow. Imagine just wanting to center a box somewhere. Like I need to bust out a calculator and like Google like the formula on how to center something. And the same thing goes with like horizontal and vertical. Like, I don't know. I know I can do this. I can select that text and be like, bam, it's centered. And like these things are just like indenting, but it's like, yeah, but like how do I actually center the freaking box? Okay. Well, now it's like, cool. Maybe let's just keep it how it is here. What if I just want to like maybe do some changing of certain things about the words. So that's good. At least I can do this and like underline those words there and be like, be typing. Like maybe I want that to be a different color. Okay, cool. So let me go to the color picker there. Let's just make it green. Sure, why not? Oh, wait, is that really green? I can't tell because the thing's white with like a highlighted color in the background. Yep, cool, it's green. What if I just want to like change that to a different color though? Okay, so I'll select that and maybe play with this. Oh, is it showing me anything? No, it's still white on the blue. I have no idea if this is going to look good until I actually hit OK to apply it. Deselect it. Oh, that's not the color I want. Actually, maybe I want it to be a little bit darker. All right, so I'll go here, maybe make this a little bit darker. What about now? Oh, yeah, so it's like 18,000 clicks later, I finally, well, this color is terrible, but you know what I mean? Like it's such a process just to do something like that. But at least I can style different words to be different things, like underline, blah, blah, blah. It's a rich text editor. So, let's make this a little bit smaller. You can see at least the text wraps, but not quite, because you can see, everything fits here normally, but now like the hello world is gone because its font size didn't adjust to the size of the container that it's in, like Camtasia did right out of the box. But okay, fine. I can always select this text here and be like, you know what, maybe I don't want 70, maybe you want to go to like 40 or 50 or something. You can do that. Let's go to 80, whatever. At least if I hit the up arrow or the mouse wheel, you can actually see that happen, which is pretty cool at the very least, I guess. But yeah, let's maybe change the font. So, oh, well, you can't really see a preview of what it looks like other than the little sample window that does nothing to me. It's like I want to see what my text looks like, not with the letter A, Z, 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 blah, blah, blah. I want to see what my text looks like. So I guess you can't do that. That kind of sucks. So it's like, how hard it is? Like I only have 100 fonts here, but it's like, well, to be fair, usually when you're making a video, like if you're making a YouTube channel, like your text is probably going to be the same font for most of the video. So like you just need to dial in whatever font that you want once. Oh, by the way, I guess you have to select it because it only made that other font on the bottom smaller or a different one. So let's go with wingdings because why not? There it is. So mailboxes. But in any case here, cool, there's our text. Well, hold on, let me go. You can at least use Control A. Let me get to a normal font just so we have actual letters that we can look at. So there we go. We have a monospace font. So yeah, let's make this rectangle a little bit smaller. Now let's maybe just add a background to this. All right, thank whoever exists potentially, or maybe not, that there is a background color box here, because in Kdenlive there's not, and you need to like worry about Z indexes, and your rectangle is different from the text. I'm not even going to open Kdenlive, I don't think, on this video. No offense to them at all, but like the text editing experience rubbed me the wrong way so hard that like I won't even consider even thinking about using the program until there's a way to edit text, at least something that resembles like this, or hopefully better. But in any case here, sure, let's add a background color. I don't know, let's pick it from the screen. Oh, that's cool. Like I can see it's white, it's blue, but actually I have no freaking idea what the background color is going to look like in the context of my video frame because it's not showing a real-time preview. All right, whatever. Let's just pick this color here because it probably stands out with that. Fine, let's do that. Okay, that's cool. Maybe I don't like this color anymore, so I'll go here and what would be a good color against this? I don't know, like black, maybe? No, well, whatever. I'm not trying to design something that actually looks good here. I'm just trying to demonstrate using the tool. But again, there's like nothing preset also that is kind of nice to look at, but maybe there's some like third-party things you can get. Maybe you can make your own and then just import them in. I'm totally fine doing that. That would be very nice. By the way, how do you remove the background color to this? Oh, how do you move it again? Oh yeah, you got to look for this thing that's like in the middle there, practically invisible. Sweet. I actually don't know how to remove this, but I discovered it on my own a while back, like yesterday when I was editing a video. You just need to be like, oh, by the way, just like set the alpha channel to be 0 because the transparency now will be full transparency instead of being opaque. Maybe there's a better way to do it. I actually don't know, but that is one way to do it there. At least it supports hex codes if you already have an existing color that you want. Can you even write to this thing? Yeah, you can. That's good at least. So sometimes those things are only read-only, basically not allowing input, even though it looks like it does. At least it does. Cool. So yeah, let's actually maybe bring one of those background colors back. Let's just go with this one. Sure. What if you wanted to do something like, I don't know, maybe like add a drop shadow to the background? Okay, well, with enough time, like tweaking around, you can be like, okay, there's a filter stack instead of what they have on Camtasia. I can get used to that. So there's like video over here. And what are we going to do? Like maybe drop shadow? Yeah, drop shadow. Nice. Okay, cool. So, there is a drop shadow there and you can play around with the bars here and move things around. Look, this is completely usable to me. I can absolutely get used to this. I can use this not in anger and be pretty happy with it. Like this idea of like adding filters here and being able to just move stuff around, pretty reasonable. There's even some presets. I guess there's not many presets there, but yeah, you could do this. This looks pretty dumb, but it's like, you can do whatever you want. And these things have an ordering too. So it's like, if you want to put the drop shadow above the text, you could do that. So yeah, that makes sense when you have different types of transitions. But yeah, in any case, let's go back to the text here. And by the way, I want to mention here something kind of nice is if you get rid of this background here, like maybe you wanted to add a drop shadow to the actual text or like a stroke or an outline, you can do that here, but it's through like the filtering system. So the drop shadow, is on the text now. The direction of this is pretty bad, but it's like, again, you need to already have a mental map of the XY coordinate system in your mind instead of just like looking at like a little grid with angles, like why can't you just have a circle, like a circle icon that, because circles have angles, but there's like a horizontal bar here for X or Y. Yeah, but look, there's a drop shadow here behind this. It looks pretty bad, not because of the tool is bad, it's just the settings are, I'm not really trying to make a good one. But the good news though is, you can add other stuff here too. Was there an outline? I actually don't know. Yeah, it looks like there is. So maybe we can add an outline to this one. Already this is starting to look like, hey, you know what? If you played with this and actually cared about what this looked like, you could totally make something pretty good. Like this would be fine. Just make it a little bit easier to do some things. Like now I just want to center this. Oh, by the way, this is lagging an insane amount right now. Like just trying to even, in fact, I can't even select the layer that I'm operating with. Why? I don't know. My mouse is getting killed right now. Like how long have I been recording for? 41 minutes? Jesus. Okay. It's not due to that, but like I literally can't even click to move this thing. So yeah, that's cool. How do I actually move the thing? You cannot drag from project. Yeah, I'm not trying to drag from project. I just want to like move the actual text layer. By the way, where did the text layer go? Oh, there you are. Hi. Like it just took like 10 seconds for it to come up. But yeah, I can't even move it. So that's cool. I never experienced that before. Although I did experience one fun thing where, I went to this layer here, this one, and like notice right now, the text color is actually white. Why this disappeared, like all the drop shadow stuff, I don't even know. Like, but I just like literally decided that I wanted to disappear. That's cool. But there was a period of time when I rendered a video yesterday where this color was black. For some reason, I don't know why, but my text was being displayed as white here. And I wanted white text because it was on like, like a dark background like this. And like when I rendered the video, it came out in the dark text. So it was just like, what's going on there? I don't know. But let's say that you want to do something now, like zooming into an area of the screen. Well, there's definitely nothing like Camtasia, but you can go to the filter thing, but actually, no, you can't select this track. So I'm going to delete this track because it's lagging my whole machine for some reason. But yeah, let me go on to, let's say here, fine. We'll take this clip here. And right now it has, that audio gain that I added before. I should mention here too that, this video, I already edited this video in Shotcut. So there's like some stuff that was already done. But yeah, let's go to zooming in. Nope, there's no like, it's not labeled zoom. Fine. It's labeled size, position, and rotate. Maybe there's some metadata associated with this filter that allows like zoom, or maybe it picks up the word zoom there. I don't know. But this is the clip that I want to zoom. Okay, cool. So like, let's move the playhead into the clip here. But let's say we want to zoom to the bottom right. Okay. So it's like, well, there's zooming in like 200%. So now it's like, I want to zoom to the bottom right. So what do I do? Well, I can, again, put in like position and size coordinates, or I can maybe drag this nubby thing. It's not doing it in real time, by the way. It's like insanely laggy. But how do I get to the bottom right of my screen? Because this thing is not letting me really, like I'm past like, the actual title bar of the window. I can't drag this thing up anymore. It will not let me, and it doesn't go off the screen. So it's like, well, how do I even get to that? I don't know. Like, do I need to like zoom out first so there's more screen visible, I guess? But then it's like, when I zoom in more later, it's not going to be where I want it. So yeah, there's all sorts of messed up things there. And there's also no guides. So it's like, how do I know that's the right edge of the screen? Like if I were really doing this for real, I would want the zoom to be at the very, very edge, like the last pixel, like just align me to the bottom, like, I don't know. Let's say maybe it's that, but let's also zoom in more because maybe we want closer to 200%. So I don't know. I'm going to go here again, here again, here again. I'm just going to give up because I can't get to well, maybe I'm in the top now. I don't know what I did differently. Maybe I zoomed in less than before. Okay, fine. Like I'm now zoomed into the bottom right. That's cool. Let's play and see what happens. Oh, okay. So it's like an immediate instant hard cut. Let's do it again just to see. Yep, immediately instant crazy hard cut. Then I went on an adventure on like how to zoom transition with Shotcut. And I learned, and again, maybe this is not the most efficient way or the best way, but I learned that if you go to the keyframes here on the clip, and that's why you need to cut this, by the way, like cut, because now we have a little clip here. You go to keyframes, there it is. So here we have a keyframe at the start. Let me zoom in a little bit more. By the way, you need to let go to see the zoom. I mentioned that before. But here we have like the first keyframe, the start, and the last keyframe on the end. And I guess you can add more keyframes. I don't really know, like whatever, but like I just know this. If you take this little dot here and start dragging it, this is the duration of like the zoom effect. So here, let's call it 0.5, so a half a second. Well, I think it went a little bit more. Nope, there's half a second. And then on the very end here, we can click and drag and find exactly half a second. Now, well, no, did I do it? Nope, there it is. Okay. But here's the thing, if you're zoomed out a little bit more, it's very hard to pinpoint exactly like 0.5 because it's like doing its own rounding thing sometimes. Like, here it's like, what if I want to go to 1 second? Well, of course it's going to do it on video now, easy. But there was times where it's like, it just kept like flipping me between, two numbers I didn't want. I wanted the number in the middle. So how do I actually add like rebuild wave audio form? No, like I just want to be able to like set this to a number. Or is there a way to mirror it because I want the ending to be the same as the beginning, which seems like a pretty common thing that you'd probably want to do for a transition, but who knows? Who am I? But yeah, okay, let's go back to the timeline here and play this back. And again, like I had to click like, here's another great example of just like, why? Like, okay, you can see the numbers here on the timeline, but if I click a little bit below where this dash ends, it doesn't register the click. But if I do it here, it registers the click. Now, there is a tooltip label that pops up here. You can see it moving around, right, where the actual time, like, 0.64, whatever, and there's no tooltip here. But it's like, and I understand, looking at the padding of the window here, this is not part of the timeline, but it's the same color, or it's so close to the same color that it's like, it's the same color. There's so many little things that are just like, Jesus Christ. But okay, let's play here and see our half-second transition zoom. Okay, that's cool. It's going to do its thing, and now it's going to zoom back out for half a second. All right, well, I could probably get used to that because, again, it's not something I do all the time. Like, I wouldn't hate life if I had to do that every once in a while. But then it's like, well, you know what? Like, really, I wanted my zoom to end here, not here. And in Camtasia, remember that little nub thing, you can just like, doop, and you're done. Here, what do? Like, I have to like undo all of my changes and then like recut it here and then like do the keyframes again and like pick the animation length again. Is there a better way? I don't know. Possibly, possibly not. I'm not surprised if there wasn't, but hopefully there is. So like in the comments below, if there's a better way to do that, like let me know. And like, these are so basic things, like, things like the highlighting and the other stuff, like, I don't even know if they're in there. Maybe they're in there. I mean, look, in its defense here, Shotcut, and Kdenlive had this too, Kdenlive, sorry. There's a lot of video effects in here that are really cool that I probably will never use, but like when you need it and it's there, it's amazing. So I am very thankful that these things exist, and I probably will use quite a few of these things at some point in the future. Like even like the glow is pretty cool. Like you can add that to text effects. So like you can make some pretty cool looking text here, but if you're going to go hardcore making text, like why not just use an image editing tool? And that's a whole nother thing too as well, because it's like, if I just want to add a text call out, like a basic one, like I don't want to have to open up GIMP and like design a whole thing and then like import it back in here. And that's like the use case of why I wouldn't use Kdenlive, because their text editing was just so not easy to use and so time consuming to do stuff. Like I just don't want to have to open up GIMP every time I want to add a call out. That takes me 10 seconds in Camtasia. But yeah, there's other stuff here too. The idea of like those behaviors, like those fun little things. No, like you can of course make those things, programmatically, like step by step with keyframing. It's in different things, I'm sure. But like, I don't know, it's just not fun to use. And okay, so you might be thinking like, all right, well, just get used to the tool a little bit more. But I don't think getting used to the tool a little bit more is going to help with a lot of these things. Maybe some of the stuff, sure. But then there's like, yeah, that DaVinci Resolve setup, we chatted about that before. Importing a video into DaVinci Resolve on Windows, and it's an MP4, that works completely fine. Like if it's H.264 encoded, let's say you're just recording that video from OBS, maybe it's like an MKV that you remux to MP4, totally bring it into Resolve, edit, no problem. You don't need proxy files even either, for a 1080p video at least on my machine. And then you can just export your H.264 video and you're good to go, assuming you're not getting like audio pops and whatever. Like it just works on Windows, but on Linux, no, it doesn't work. It just doesn't have that codec available unless you buy the studio version for $300. And then you can import and export H.264, meaning like you can take a video from OBS, edit it, and then render out another MP4. On paper, I mean, the internet says yes. I haven't tried it personally because I didn't spend $300 on the video editing tool. Now, with that said, if $300 was the only barrier to using DaVinci Resolve, even though I've made $0 on YouTube in 10 years, I would still snap by it because I'm using the tool all the time. Like, that is a quality of life purchase that I would be very happy making. Like if the tool just worked like flawlessly, right? But getting DaVinci Resolve to run on Linux, especially, well, Arch Linux is actually one of the better distros to run it on because it has, some up-to-date libraries, like pretty big community support, etc. But it's like so many people have so many problems depending on what GPU they have, what combination of hardware they have, like updates constantly break. But all those things are kind of just like implementation details, right? Unless there's something like crazy critically wrong with your setup, like in terms of like hardware or whatever, like there's probably a way to make it work. But then it's like, well, yeah, but even if you have the studio version of DaVinci Resolve, you still can't export with a sound codec AAC. And that's like a very popular audio output format. So then you're back to this world where it's like you have to render your video with DaVinci Resolve, like that's a very CPU intensive task, like disk space because you're rendering a video out. Then you're gonna have to go to like FFmpeg or Airbrake or some other tool and re-encode it with the codec that you actually want for the audio, like AAC, let's say. And then you can like delete the rendered video that Resolve made because you no longer need it anymore. And then you have, your final video in the end. But like needing to render a video twice just sucks. And if you have to like render it twice to import it as well, like for example, if you didn't have the paid version of DaVinci Resolve and you were just using a different audio format, then yeah, that's like really, really, really super painful because usually it's like, I record a video in OBS and now it's like, okay, time to edit the video. Like I want to edit that video now. I don't want to have to like re-render that entire video, wait potentially upwards of an hour to render like a 45-minute video or whatever it is, and then start my editing process. So that's a complete deal breaker for me if I need to like double render on the import or double render on the export. Now, double rendering on the export is debatable. Like, maybe you can deal with that. It just takes twice as long, but it's still, no, I haven't read a whole lot of programming books, but The Pragmatic Programmer is one of my favorite books. And it has this idea of like broken windows, where it's like, if you're crawling around this code base and you see a lot of technical debt here or there, and like you're constantly reminded that, oh man, this thing is broken. Now I need to do this like workaround. Oh, there's this like side effect. Oh, this thing is like slow, or oh, this thing is blah, blah, blah. Like, do you really want to surround yourself daily doing things like that? Like encountering those situations. Now, with a lot of software tools that you write, like at least you're empowered to be able to fix that debt, make it better, repair that window, put in a new window. But here it's like, I just don't have those capabilities. So it's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with those things on a daily basis. And, even using something like Shotcut here, it's like, I'll make the compromises because, I'm not going to get into it in this video, but it's like the direction Windows is going is not a direction I want to be a part of. And I've been using Windows since like a really long time. And my hardware is actually not even compatible with Windows 11. And, I have been running native Linux on a laptop, on a travel laptop that I have. And yeah, working super nice with Neri as a window manager, Arch Linux, blah, 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 super awesome. The whole philosophy and ecosystem around Linux in general is basically, it's like, it's yours. So like your operating system is there for you to mold. You can build on top of it. You can tweak all these different tools. And there's so many command line tools that are just like so amazingly good. Like riprep is absolutely fantastic to use, right? Like the Ghosty terminal, not technically a command line tool, but it's like, really, really good. OBS, even also not a command line tool, but like works on Linux and it's like beautifully written. It just works. So many great things. There's like the Arch Wiki, again, like community supported. It's the best environment, right? And I almost feel like, and I wrote about this in a blog post like 8 years ago when I tried to switch to native Linux. I feel like I would be a different person if I was actually running Linux for the last 15 years because I don't know, there's like there's an openness to it and just like, man, like we're all on the same team type of thing. But when it comes to Windows, it's like, yeah, you're just like customer like 868,000 that you're trying to extract out like the maximum dollar amount. And like the operating system is like, not only is it like not your friend, it's like going out of its way to like take your lunch money. Like not literally like money, but well, literally yes, but also just like so many things where it's like, how? Like, Jesus Christ, man, like relax with the AI. I don't know, man. There's been times where like with Windows 10 where I just have my machine rebooted in the middle of the night because Windows wants to patch. Thankfully, not anymore because Windows 10 is end of life. But like, I'll just wake up from the reboot and like my clock here just won't show the date. Like it'll just show the time. But then like 5 hours later, the time will just appear by itself. Or maybe like 2 days later. It's all crazy stuff. And like, it's not fun anymore. Like I just want to go to native Linux, be in control of my machine, and enjoy everything. But in any case, that's major rambling here around video editing tools. As you can see, this video editing experience on Linux, it's like a deep cut for me because it's like one of the last things where everything else is like so good, where this is just like not so good. And yeah, I don't know. I will say this, at the end of this year, so like near the end of the holidays, again, like this is the beginning of December, I'm recording this video, but like when I did try to switch to native Linux, had all those issues with audio popping, blah, blah, blah. I am formatting this machine and going native Linux during the week or two around Christmas, and like it's happening no matter what. So I will either be editing videos reluctantly, like trying to battle my way through them until I stop making YouTube videos because I don't want to have to deal with a shitty video editing experience constantly. Or maybe something will work with Resolve, I don't know. Maybe some of these tools like Shotcut and Kdenlive, maybe their text editing abilities get a little bit more polished. Maybe there's a little bit more cool things that happen in the UI to make it a little bit easier to use. I don't know, but I would love that. And that's basically why I'm making this video here. It's not just to complain to open source developers who have already been very generous with their time. Yeah, with that said, feel free to nitpick the shit out of this video. Like if there's things that I'm missing, because again, literally I've just edited like 2 videos with this tool, let me know in the comments. Give me an exact workflow of how I can do the thing that I'm trying to do. And yeah, anybody watching the video can see those comments and also get a better experience as well. So with that said, I think I'm going to wrap up this video here. If you made it to the end, thanks a lot for watching. And well, I'll see you pretty soon, probably from native Linux in a couple of videos from now. So yeah, see you later.